Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver. With me, as always, from some bunker, we don't know which one it is yet, Mr. Peter Thomas in Chicago. Hello, sir.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Wild week. We can't wait to give you a little recap. And, we're going to try to look a little further down the road into the future here, too, because there is so much going on that we're going to try to dust off the crystal ball and give everybody a little more of a taste as to what could happen.
Right, right. And but to give things a little bit of context, we look back at last week.
Sure.
I was really impressed with gold's performance. So we
Oh,
closed up almost 3%,
yeah,
just off the near 7.5, or actually more than 7.5 year high set the previous week. At 1747.22. So we closed
right.
it like 1727. So it was like $20 off that high.
Everyone's talking 1800, sir.
Yeah, well, everybody's
That's
talking
the number. Yep.
1800 and then some. We saw the Bank of America uh, increase their 18-month outlook by
That's true.
50%.
Citibank as
So,
well.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they're looking at $3,000
Yeah, that,
gold.
and I feel like we should get those hats like they had with Dow 20,000. We should
Right?
get those 18,000 hats and
Oh,
and go
well, I
from
mean,
there.
as soon as that order comes in, you're going to need the 2000 hat.
That's yeah, exactly.
So, and it's
Uh,
also, I know for a fact that for the stock market, historically, it's been the kiss of death. The minute you put that
yeah. Oh,
25,000 hat on,
oh yeah,
it
absolutely.
tanks. Or,
Thanks.
or
Yeah,
when you had the 30,000 hat, that's when things
get one
got
with a firm
troubling.
lid so you can break the egg as it rolls down the side of your
Right,
face. Right, exactly.
right.
I
So,
understand.
what
But
I loved, what I
let's
loved
talk a
about the
little bit
big,
about gold here first. Wait a minute before you run off, because the largest refinery in Australia is ramping up. They were closed. They're ramping up, and they're going to start pouring kilobars, which caught a lot of people by surprise. They thought they were going to be closed a little longer. They're talking about coming to the table with as much as 7.5 tons a week,
a
which
week.
really caught a lot of people by surprise, which the market will absorb, by the way. But let's get very interesting here. Russia, who is refused to allow export licenses for gold. I mean, all the gold that came out of the ground was staying with Herr Putin, and they just announced that they're going to allow exports. So a lot of people went, "Oh, we're going to have gold licenses, so we're going to be seeing a lot of gold coming out." Plus, they're not going to buy any more gold by their last announcement. And then I got it from a good friend of mine, who it was later confirmed that they went and bought 11 tons.
In March,
So,
right?
so they will allowed them to export about 7 tons, and they bought 11. So I get very confused with Russian politics. You have to help
Well,
me with that,
that's right. They're the masters of deception and
Oh boy,
confusion.
aren't they though? They really
Yeah.
are the best. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
the
I wanted to throw that in.
no, absolutely good stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, I read the Bloomberg article about the Perth Mint, and
Okay,
what's
great.
interesting about the 7.5 tons that they're of kilobars that they're generating every week
Right.
is most of them are going to Comex. Is what the president of Perth Mint, the CEO of Perth Mint, said in the article. Um, but I thought uh, that gold in the COMEX vaulting system was at like all-time highs, and yet we still have the dislocation in the market, the contango.
Well, not only do we still have the contango that we've been covering in depth for the last 3 weeks, and also let's not forget the contango between the LME and the COMEX has been almost the widest it's ever been. And then this week, Peter came in, correct?
It did narrow up a little bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that got a little better. Maybe that's because the physical is coming in and they don't have to rely as much on LME deliveries, or um, for whatever reason, let's just say that we're seeing a little more rationale coming into that.
Well,
And
they got the Perth Mint shipping 7 tons a week.
that's a lot of metal.
That's a
That's
lot of
a lot.
metal. That's
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
is.
metal traveling 11,000 miles.
11,000 miles in order to meet a demand which isn't there. Okay, we'll leave it at that, I guess, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, let's circle back around to B of A real quick because
Okay.
I love the title of the report where they give that $3,000 forecast for gold.
Okay. Okay.
The Fed can't print gold was the title of the report.
I saw the gal holding the bar going, can't make this. I thought that was really
Yep.
funny.
I think
Yeah.
we said that 3 weeks ago, though, right? At the end of one of
Well,
our
it's all right if they
broadcasts.
want to use our stuff. It's
Yeah,
out there, it's fine. The Fed wants to use our stuff. It's all right.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Way to be ahead of the game, though.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, let's put it this way. Silver mines in Mexico and Peru, we've been under a lot of pressure to find metal, and they both said they're going to ramp up in 30 days roughly. They said that they're going to be pretty much up to speed. So, pragmatically, we've got 3 to 4 more weeks of very tight times, and Peru is the second largest producer, so that's a big number. And the question becomes, when are the unions going to allow export licensing? And I have a feeling that it's all going to fall into place. So look for the U.S. Mint to still be short metal, to be stamping eagles, and premiums to stay high.
Yeah. So last week we had mentioned, or I had mentioned, that the silver chart looked a little bit vulnerable, and
Yes, you did. That's
silver
correct.
did in fact tank early in the week,
Yep.
but came back nicely and
56
closed.
cent jump just out of the blue. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So I was right, then I was wrong. So, but that's the way the trading game goes, right?
Well, you and I was married 30 years. I'm used to being right and wrong at the same time. I mean,
Simultaneously. Yeah,
simultaneously, absolutely.
so silver closed about I don't know 15-20 or so, mostly unchanged on the week last week,
Right.
and it's looking pretty decent, I guess. I'd like to see a little bit more upside before I fully subscribe to the more bullish scenario, but
Well, here's the thing. We're seeing the Chinese production of solar cells picking up. It uses a lot of silver. I mean, a lot of silver. So we're seeing some undertones, and it goes to what you're saying, which is silver tanked, found some support, and managed to come back to where it started through all of the rigmarole. So I think that's interesting.
yeah,
So it really was a good week, even though it looked like it didn't do much.
yeah. So the
Yeah,
Silver Institute came out with a report
love their
last
stuff.
week as well, and
Yeah.
they remain pretty bullish, and maybe that's not surprising, but
No,
um,
I think their reports, and in all fairness, probably the best silver unbiased report really does come from
it's a
Silver
good report.
Institute.
I
Yeah.
really enjoy reading
Yeah.
their stuff. It's very comprehensive, and they like $19 silver
Sure.
um, this year, and I don't think that that's unreasonable. But like I said, I'd like to see us get through some of these resistance levels above the market
Yeah.
before I get too gung ho. It's just
There's a lot of pressure.
such a high beta in that market, but and we've I guess nobody knows more about volatility in the silver market than you, Pete. So
I seriously doubt there's anyone out there that has seen the insanity that I've seen. And the thing is that I remember trading silver when it had a $5 range on it one day. So silver is, when I always say to people, silver is so schizophrenic. It just, some days it has no idea what it's going to do.
yeah,
There's a little story here. My first trading day on the floor, when they gave me a deck to fill, silver went limit down, limit up, and closed unchanged. I went, oh, okay, this happens every day.
didn't you have an out trade that first day too?
I'm not talking about that. Thank you very much. It never
Ah,
happened.
that's a great
I'm,
story.
no, I'm
I'll
sorry. Do you think you're going to weasel
audience
that one out of me?
audience. I will talk to Pete about divulging the out trade on his first day, but
Oh, geez. It was,
it might
and
have to come. That's your
so,
incentive to tune
so,
back in.
so moving on to our good friend John Sacco at Sahara
I
International
love John. What's up with John?
Machinery. John's telling us he's moving. His equipment, his people are crushing and hauling a lot of silver and excuse me, copper. And we're seeing a lot of copper moving, and we're seeing a lot of demand for copper.
Hmm.
So the industrial metals, all of them, have been seeing good demand, except for iron ore. Iron ore is getting killed. I'm not real sure why, other than the fact that when I look at iron ore, then I sneak a peek over, I run over and take a look at coal just to see what coal demand. Coal's collapsed.
Oh, sure.
So right now, we're not seeing anything going on in iron ore and coal, which is interesting because energy has gotten so cheap. I have a feeling that we're going to continue to see a lot of pressure on iron and coal both. So anybody that's following industrial metals, I mean, look for the stuff to continue to spend the pressure.
Yeah. So that's sort of a natural transition into talking about oil. But before we do that, I want to also say that last week we had talked about the copper chart looking pretty vulnerable,
Yes.
and it too canned early in the week.
Oh, they tanked it. Yeah.
Went all the way down to below 215, and ended up closing up almost 1% for the week last week.
Amazing
Almost
recovery.
10% off
Yep.
of the low for the week, off of Tuesday's low. So
And
pretty
oh, by the
impressive.
way, to go with your pretty impressive too, is they did the copper inventory, which is the sheet inventory and the bulk ore, both six weeks down now in China. A lot of people are saying that China has to come in and come in big, and that's I think what's going on.
Wow. And
Yeah.
given the fact that we closed over 235, you think that's a fairly significant number as well from a technical perspective, yeah?
We've been talking about that for about 6 weeks. We said 235 is the magic number. We got to close above there, which you pointed out aptly today that we just squeaked through resistance going into the close and really firmed up on the technical side. Could be a very interesting opening on Monday.
Yeah, Friday's close was strong, and it did set a 5-week high
Yeah.
into the close on Friday. So that market looks pretty good
Yeah.
after not looking so good last week or early last
Well,
week.
I will tell you, Brent Eckhart from United Metals Recycling is one of our sources. They move a lot of copper. They do a lot of recycling and inventory from everything from wheels to entire cars. And I chatted with him early in the week, and he said, "Hey, Pete, we're loading the 18 wheelers all day long. We are moving product. So we might not see it initially in the beginning of the week, and then." The kind of the physical market actually overtook the futures, and we saw that rally. So we're from what we're getting from sources in China and from sources in America, copper has a very strong underpinning right now.
All
So
right,
you
let's
copper
let's
guys who we told 6 weeks ago to be very careful about selling short the product or initially going out into the future and doing obligations, shall we say. Uh, we got lucky, and so far so good.
Yeah. So now let's get back around to energy
I'm sorry,
after
it scares me.
the
I'm
crate two
not
weeks
going near
ago.
that.
And we talked about it in the last video. It was the craziest darn
Yeah,
thing that I have ever seen in 35 years of being involved in global markets.
no argument.
Yeah,
No
and
argument.
and I was kind of trying to think, like the stock market crashed in 1987. I was at the Merck and went down to the S&P pit, and I mean it was mayhem. It was
Yeah,
uh,
that's putting it
so
mildly.
so that was like something that has stuck with me, years and years later. I also remember when the specs took a run on the British pound in 1992, broke the pound,
Mhm.
led by George Soros.
George
And that
Soros
was
was the person
another,
that instigated that. Same time he wiped out Thailand too. Yeah,
right,
or allegedly wiped out Thailand.
right.
Excuse me. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
those were
That was a scary. That
the
was a
two
scary,
big
scary
ones.
time. Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting because I was watching refined product. A lot of people were watching crude. I was watching Reebok. I was watching gasoline. I wanted, that to me kind of tell it is a real pulse giver to me. And I looked at gas. I saw gasoline at 60 cents, and I was going, what? Oh,
Yeah.
wholesale gasoline. It came, obviously rallied back a bit, but it was just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So oil did come back pretty strong this week.
Yeah.
I think some of that can be attributed to President Trump giving the Navy the thumbs up to light up any Iranian gunboat that harasses naval shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you?
Let's put it this way: the Navy was the Navy was given a leave it at that. I think anybody that gets near a naval ship today will be surprised that they're not going to be allowed to be bullied anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we look at, forward to this week, um, we get our first look at Q1 GDP. Advanced GDP
Okay.
comes out for Q1. The median expectations running negative 3.8%,
Which is dismal.
which is pretty dismal. And
Yeah.
the data in recent weeks as a result of COVID has been pretty grim.
Yeah.
I guess particularly on the jobs front. We saw another pretty big number, although a lower number for initial jobless claims,
Yeah. That's
somewhere
true.
north of 4 million last
4
week.
million.
Um,
And we also just pumped some money into that. The president just put another chunk of money in there to support small businesses, correct?
right, yeah, 480 billion, I think,
Weird.
was the
Pittance.
latest
Yeah. Yeah.
measure.
So let's
Um,
hope that gives some relief to the guys till people can come back. Let's get this thing rolling, guys.
yeah, and the Fed added another 200 billion to their balance sheet, so we're at 6.6 trillion now. Still a long way from my 12 trillion target, but
I tell you, I
continuing
don't
to
think
edge
it's
in the right
unrealistic.
direction.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
right.
Um, PCE is out this week. If that's supposed to be like negative 6.5%. So when you talk about inflation
Wow.
and inflation typing indicators,
Yeah.
again, when you've got oil, even though it's not negative anymore,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty low, and um, so
They're not
that's
gonna. I don't have to pay to deliver oil, is what you're saying. I mean,
right.
just wrap your head around that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Yeah, golly.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think those would be the two things that we'll be looking forward to this week,
Yep.
as sort of the big
On
numbers.
on the
And then,
financial part. Yep.
yeah, consumer confidence, obviously going to expect a decline in consumer confidence as well. Median expectations,
Stock market isn't
90.
saying that though. It
Yeah,
really isn't. The stock market is saying we're getting ready to come back.
yeah.
So let's
I don't
hope they're
know.
right.
Some people are pushing out the stay-at-home directives into May now, and Denver did.
Oh, is that right?
The state still looks like the state of
Illinois
Colorado
also.
is
Yeah.
still looking like next week we're going to ease some of the stay-at-home restrictions, but Denver pushed it out into May, I think May 9th or something like
Okay.
that. So
Some of the states are
I'm still
loosening up.
trapped.
Oh God, you're not alone, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Oh, we didn't touch PGMs. So very
Let's talk
quickly,
about PGMs.
uh, the
Hey, so
high.
yeah, so
Huh,
last week, um, it was kind of a mixed bag. We
yeah,
saw Palladium down about 6% last week,
yeah,
but
right.
platinum closed down 1.6%.
Yeah, but not
So
much.
yeah, holding its own relatively. But so, what do you think's going on in the PGMs?
Well, and the high NO2, NOx, depending on who you talk to, or the emission from diesel cars in the EU. Big issue there. They've adopted diesel way before America did, and because it gets very high mileage and it's relatively inexpensive. So they are talking about a new process to retrofit all the diesel cars. If anyone remembers the Volkswagen debacle,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
kind of
talking about
screwed the
they.
pooch.
Oh man, and so that whole disaster might have been fixed now. They're claiming that they have discovered a retrofit, and it involves a lot of PGMs, and it could get a lot of these cars that have been off the road or were using that configuration, which is more important, of diesel engine, are now going to meet the high NO2 numbers in Europe. So we could see some big consumption numbers coming out very shortly.
Yeah, if it's Volkswagen, they're going to be checking that data pretty closely.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. That free reign has long gone to a choke collar, you know.
Right.
So yeah, but that I thought was interesting.
So there's another story that I think you want to follow pretty closely this week. That might have some influence on the PGMs as well. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Oh, sure. Actually, it's very interesting. We had a report earlier this week, probably about Comstock Wealth, Comstock Recycling, and John Perez called me late in the evening and said that and he always keeps his ear to the ground. Thank you, John. Shout out to you, to Comstock. Nice job. Said that he had heard that the leader of North Korea had suffered some sort of heart ailment and was off to the hospital. And all of the rumors are pointing to that, which means that all of the rare earths, which are contributed a lot to China, who then go and send the products to us after they do it, and also do nickel, palladium, platinum, things of that nature, might slow down. And without their fearless leader there, the woman who has a chance to step into his shoes is a very intelligent person. I've listened to her and seen her at the United Nations also, and it could be real interesting. I think we could have a chance to see that whole thing loosen up, and with 3 confirmed nuclear warheads sitting over there, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah,
Well, that
yeah.
maybe some optimism for this week, and
We'll keep you informed. Stay with us. It's just something that we want you guys to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on that news because it's going to affect the metals and it's going to affect everything. I mean, anytime you take a wild joker off the table, it produces good things.
right, right. And with that, I think we can say good trading this week.
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
Stay away from the energies, please. We like you.
Indeed. I'm
Yeah.
Peter Grant from Zaner
I'm
Metals
Pete
in
Thomas
Denver.
in Chicago. And listen, thanks for watching us. Give us a like and sign up and get our stuff every week. And we will continue to try to help you foresee the future here.